of us hear our alarms and pop out of bed ready to go for the day. Okay, well, some of you may hit the snooze a few times, but after that, you're generally ready for the day. For about 400,000 Canadians, though, rising and shining is not so easy. Who are these individuals? These are people who have been diagnosed by a doctor with fibromyalgia. There are also many people who have unexplained symptoms that fit into the fibromyalgia picture, but have not been formally diagnosed. In total, the actual number of those with fibromyalgia may actually rise to include over 1 million Canadians. Welcome to Revivelife Wellness Show. I'm your host, naturopathic Dr. Joelle. On today's show, we'll explore a clear understanding of what fibromyalgia is, great recipes with our superfood kiwi, and treatment options. Even if you don't have fibromyalgia, you'll find great wellness tips, so keep watching. So what does it feel like to have fibromyalgia? Life for many started out quite normally, learning to ride a bike, laughing with friends at school, boyfriends and girlfriends, and then life changed. For some, a trauma or an accident preceded the change. For others, the cause is really unknown. Now, life feels like you have a ton of bricks strapped to your body and you're trying to run a marathon, the marathon of life. You get ready to begin on your journey, but all you can think about is the deep muscular aches, sharp shooting pains, and throbbing sensations that seem to travel and move from place to place. You've tried arthritic medications, but none of them really seem to work. A part of what makes it difficult to deal with the pain as well is the fact that you're super sensitive to everything. Ordinary lights hurt your eyes. Those silk pajamas that your friend gave you for your birthday irritate your skin. And the hum of a car engine makes you just edgy. This supersensitivity, which may affect all 5 senses, is actually called allodynia, which occurs when normally bearable sensations become painful ones. You've now made it to lunch, but have needed to rest often. Sleep seems to be a thing of the past, so it's inevitable that your physical and mental energy is so low that making meals or even brushing your teeth is exhausting. At 4 p.m., your daughter calls and asks if you remember that you were to pick her up and that she's been waiting for over an hour. You're sincere, but it really scares you that you've really forgot and was confused thinking it was next week instead. So you pack up your work and off you go. And as you rush out the door, your boss says, if you just think positive, you'll be feeling better. On top of his words yesterday, you just need to snap out of it. You think to yourself it would be almost better if you had a broken arm or a leg, because then at least people would be able to see that you're unwell. Home at last, you've made it through another day, but with all of this, you feel like another brick has been added to your pack, which makes you feel down. Other symptoms that you may have also had on and off include irritable bowel with pain, bloating, diarrhea or constipation, painful periods, restless legs, headaches, numbness or tingling in the extremities, stiffness, irritable bladder, dry eyes or mouth, chronic yeast infections, and other generalized feelings of being unwell. This is a day in the life of those with fibromyalgia. A quiz to keep you on your toes today is fibromyalgia all in your head? So if it is, and you just snap out of it, you'll feel better. Number 2, does lack of sleep affect fibromyalgia pain? And number 3, what food from down under can help give you natural enzymes to help your digestion that affects many with fibromyalgia? For all of us, snacking is the 4th meal of the day. Our snacks for you today revolve around grapes. Recent studies have shown that the low GI or glycemic value of grapes is also a good indicator of this fruit's blood sugar benefits. Better blood sugar balance, better insulin regulation, and increased insulin sensitivity have now been connected with the intake of grape juices, grape extracts, and individual phytonutrients found in grapes. Resveratrol, in particular, has been shown to increase the expression of all 3 genes in relationship to longevity. So want to live longer? Try adding these yummies to your snacking routine. Just a note, you'll want to buy these ones certified organic, as grapes are on the Dirty Dozen list as one of the top 12 foods high in pesticide residue. As a tip, anytime you have a fruit, have a few bites of protein first to reduce the sugar rise and fall even more. So I've got for you today frozen grapes. With the warm summer weather, try these beauties anytime. Grape salsa on crisps add a touch of tangy and sweetness to any dish. For this, simply chop up grapes with some onions, tomatoes, parsley, cilantro, lemon juice, and seasonings to taste, and you have a fiesta anywhere. Grape slushy. This one is great for the kids, way better than the colored sugary versions that seem to catch their eye. Not only that, but it's so easy that they can make it themselves. And lastly, grapes on a stick. What could be simpler? Along with their strong antioxidant support, grapes provide us with equally strong anti-inflammatory benefits. It is important to note that research studies in this area have seldom involved dietary intake of whole grapes, but rather supplemental intake of grape components or grape extracts. Still, we have every reason to believe that these same anti-inflammatory benefits are offered by whole, fresh grapes. Perhaps not just the same extent in a short-term situation, but certainly worth adding to our diet. So we can enjoy these grapes over a lifetime. Coming up next, how do you know if you have fibromyalgia, and how many ways can you spin a kiwi? Welcome back. We're here on Revivelife speaking about fibromyalgia. It is important to understand that fibromyalgia is not necessarily a musculoskeletal disease. It's now well recognized that a central nervous system disorder is responsible for the severe pain and disability experienced by many fibromyalgia patients. Although the symptoms may be widespread and felt all over the body in nature, the pain is in the brain and it is chemically mediated. There are many lifestyle changes that one can make and natural remedies that can help bring these neurotransmitters back into balance to reduce the overall intensity of pain. Our next guest can help us navigate through this. He began his career as an immunological research chemist, and then he ran a family practice. Next, he traveled around the world studying myalgic encephalomyelitis. In 1988, he opened the Nightingale Research Foundation to widen resources in the studying patients with ME. The foundation is a charitable organization dedicated to explore, understand, and treat patients with ME, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia-type illness, and post-immunization injuries. Welcome, Dr. Byron Hyde.
My goodness, you know more than I do.
It's amazing what you can find on the internet. Well, I'm really really pleased to have you here. We found a connection. We used to live in the same neighborhood.
And I'm
here in
trying to get
Ottawa.
you to move back.
Exactly. Not a bad idea. It's a
Yeah.
great neighborhood. So we're very pleased to have you here. We were speaking earlier and you were mentioning that you're not necessarily a traditional physician. Can you help us understand that?
Well, it depends how you look at that. I started off as a geophysicist. I went to the Provincial Institute of Mine in Haileybury. And when you're looking for mines using geophysical techniques, you start off by looking at the geography. Then you start to put layers on top of it, different geophysical systems of testing the ground. And there's 8 or 9 or even 10 of them. And then you don't decide that you've got a mine until you've done all of these investigations first. And this has incredibly influenced my medical practice because what has happened increasingly in the last many, many years is doctors make what I call an educated guess. The patient walks in, you look great, so therefore you can't be ill. And this is a real problem with fibromyalgia patients because a lot of them look perfectly normal.
Exactly.
They don't feel normal, they can't act normal, their lives are in many ways destroyed. But when you make an educated guess diagnosis, the physician has an advantage. He can treat the guess without treating the illness. And so perhaps we could get into that. A lot of the treatments, the 3 top treatments for fibromyalgia, chemical treatments right now, I wrote them down so I won't forget them.
I believe that amitriptyline is one of the common
Oh,
ones
that's one of the
used.
old ones.
Okay.
But the new ones are gabapentin, which the pharmaceutical company in British Columbia sold $30 million worth last year.
Wow.
Lyrica, which is the new boy in town, the sales in 2010 were $1.5 billion.
Okay.
What is interesting, studies done in 2009 show that it doesn't have any better effect than a placebo.
That's very interesting.
Very interesting when you think that you're dealing with 1.5 billion for nothing.
You know, so you bring in a very interesting concept, the whole aspect of it potentially having a political aspect and just kind of getting into the whole business of the pharmaceutical industry and how these medications are, well, they're a billion-dollar industry plus, correct?
Yep. But it also allows physicians to make that educated guess, and we will try this medication, we'll try Cymbalta, we'll try Lyrica, we'll try these different medications. It gives them 5 or 6 bullets in their gun to try. And to me, a lot of these medications are dangerous. And particularly since most doctors have no idea what fibromyalgia is, it becomes a problem. How can they treat something they don't understand?
Let's go back and let's just really help define what is fibromyalgia.
Okay. I agree and disagree with you.
Okay.
And I took a note as you were talking. You said it's a CNS
I know.
disorder.
Yeah, I know we were going to have a discussion about that.
And you're correct.
Yes.
You're correct. In part.
Yes.
And you also said it was a chemically mediated illness. And you're correct in that. But that can give you a false impression. For instance, do you know how to cause fibromyalgia?
Well, I've read some studies, and what they say is, again, studies can be skewed in many ways, but one research study actually was done, and they deprived people of sleep, and they created fibromyalgia type symptoms. So how does sleep fit into this role? We know that it's either a symptom or a cause, question mark?
But that's a stressor. You put anybody who's unwell into any stress condition, you're going to aggravate pre-existing symptoms.
Yes,
so if
you're
they've got a
right.
wee bit of fibromyalgia but enough to work with and enough to go on with, by not letting them sleep makes it worse, of course. And fibromyalgia patients classically do not sleep. And actually some of the best studies in the world were done in Toronto on that very aspect and showed that these patients had a specific brain pattern, a sleep dysfunction pattern. But that's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is if you want to provoke fibromyalgia, I mean really severe fibromyalgia, so the patient's ready to kill you. How do you do that? And it's very, very easy. All you have to do is send them for a stress test. And the first thing that happens when you go to the Heart Institute and they're doing a stress test, they can't do it. They can't run. They're too much pain. They get exhausted too fast. So you then give them a chemical stress test. What a chemical stress test does is it opens up all the arteries in the body, and this forces all the blood to the extremities, and there's not enough blood for the heart. So the heart corresponds by going rapidly, like you were running the 4-minute mile. And then as soon as you give this medication, before the heart even reacts, the patient starts screaming, stop, 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 stop. And fortunately, there's an antidote, and you give that. And that is how your chemically mediated imbalance that you're talking about works.
Yes.
What it is the cholinesterase